felt that the children of today are going to be the adults of tomorrow, and if we could educate those into the belief that trees were the things that are going to fix a lot of the problems upon the land, that's where the children of today had to be educated in the tree planting that we're doing, such as today's planting.
This is the story of a concerned community. It could be your community, your story. It happens to be a story from the Kiewa Catchment Farm Tree Group. Of their love for the Kiewa Valley and their work to preserve the valley for the generations to come. In northeast Victoria, the Kiewa River begins its life in the high mountain country of the Great Divide. Smaller streams flow northwards to form the Kiewa and its tributaries, creating beautiful fertile valleys and steep slopes. The valley is favoured by a reliable rainfall that ranges from 700 to 1200 millimetres. The traditional agricultural industries of beef and dairy production still predominate. Other agricultural uses include fruit and horticulture production in the fertile river valleys. The advent of hydroelectric power brought significant development to the catchment in the form of dams, employment and water management. Tourism is a fast-growing industry with attractions of the snowfields, river fishing, canoeing and spectacular sightseeing. These uses have an effect on the environment, but by far the greatest impact is from the use of the valley for agricultural production. If, through misunderstanding or carelessness, poor agricultural practices are employed, land degradation commences to occur. Adding to land degradation is the legacy of gold mining in the last century. The increasing community concern about land damage resulted in the formation of the Kiewa Catchment Farm Tree Group. Murray Smith, president of the Kiewa Farm Tree Group, says land restoration is not simply a matter of planting trees.
It's much broader into total soil and land degradation, and I think myself that 90% of the catchment area is affected with either compaction, lack of good pastures on our hillsides. I think what's happened in the last few years that our pastures have tended to run down, and we still try to carry the same amount of cattle we did 20 years ago, and the land's just not capable of doing that at the moment.
The answer lies in better land management and a total farm approach. Let's look at some of the problems affecting the valley. Gully erosion is found throughout the valley and usually occurs in the deeper soils where the steep hills meet the plains. Increased water runoff due to excessive clearing of trees on the hills is the major cause of this problem. Landslips are a problem on steeper hillsides and again caused by excessive clearing of trees, increased waterlogging of soil and lack of healthy, deep-rooted, improved pastures. Control measures for gully erosion and landslips include fencing off effective areas, tree planting and pasture improvement. Other major problems are bank erosion, flooding and siltation of creeks and rivers. past mining activity has been a major contributing factor in causing creek and river instability. A good example of this is the Yakandanda Creek. To correct these problems often requires major works, including tree planting and fencing. Uncontrolled stock access to creek and river banks will need to be restricted in the future in order to prevent and correct this type of erosion and damage. These problems are made worse by tree decline caused by stock damage, insect attack, mistletoe and general tree ill health. However, there is an increased community understanding of the important role trees play in reversing these problems and how they add to the long-term social and economic benefits of the whole community. Apart from planting trees, the group is involved in a whole range of activities needed to reverse land misuse. Problems such as farm pests and weeds are also tackled.
Our group has now just been involved in one area of it. We've formed up what we call a rabbit control group, and this is a community group of farmers who are now looking at the rabbit as a community and not just as isolated farmers, and I think there's going to be a great future for that in the rabbit control, and certainly in noxious weeds in the whole. We're not just on rabbits, we're talking about the whole noxious problem, rabbits and weeds.
The Kiewa Valley community is no different to any other rural community across Victoria. They have a special attachment and relationship with their land. It is part of them. They are like country people everywhere, practical, down-to-earth people. They saw a problem and looked for a working solution.
Our group originally started through a public meeting called by the Shire of Yakandanda from interested people. We had Professor Warwick Chambers from the Melbourne University who was the first official speaker, and he set us on the course of looking at our tree decline throughout our valley, right along the river, up into the hills, and from there on it's just followed on and become very enthusiastic in the last 3 years. Certainly a lot of work has been done by the group now in interesting landowners in soil erosion work, in getting grants from government departments, and they follow up with their extension officers.
Since the group's beginning in 1983, a great deal of progress has been made. The effort has involved work on private and public land, has involved farmers, townsfolk and government bodies, and most importantly, children. The group also works in close liaison with other land care community groups, such as the Murray Valley League, who are also involved in land restoration and salinity projects throughout the Murray Valley. Community and group cooperation is the only way our land can be preserved for the future. It's a learning experience, and we all need to share our experience for the common good. There are now many obvious examples of the Kiewa Tree Group's hard work and success in the valley. The group's first community planting was of a badly eroded gully. Today, the gully is stabilised and the trees are providing a habitat for bird life. Trees in plantations of various ages and heights are now an increasingly common sight across the Kiewa Valley. However, this is only one measure of success. It's also getting farmers to accept a whole farm approach, an attitude of land preservation and better agricultural practices. Such practices not only ensure good land use, but a sustainable agricultural future, with, just as importantly, greater profits as well.
It's an educational process. We give them the trees as an incentive to put them on the land, and it's surprising just how many farmers are coming back each year asking for more trees. I think our group in the future must encourage farmers to do alternative methods of cultivation, contour aeration of country, spraying out the weeds and establishing deeper rooted pastures such as phalaris and all that sort of thing. Because I think the phalaris is possibly the greater water user on our hill country, and that grows very well in our particular area, we know that. And it's just a case of trying to educate farmers in the best and the easiest and the best way for the soils to establish these pastures on these hills country, because they can make money off that, and it's essential that the farmer still be able to make an income and look after his land at the same time. That's absolutely essential. Our tree group finds that farmers approach us who want to do some work on their gullies. We in turn go to the Extension Office of the Conservation Forest and Lands and the Soil Conservation Service, and they come and look at it and give advice on the best way for the farmer to overcome his problem, and also how he can obtain money to do these sort of works.
The group maintains a high public profile by talking to children in schools and having them plant trees. The children's involvement in these activities brings home to parents an awareness of the group's activities and the need to care for their land. There are 40 tree groups statewide, coordinated by the Rural Training Council of Victoria. We need many more if we're to reverse the decline of not only our land, but our whole environment. Trees have a special role in the well-being of not only this valley, but our whole country, and indeed the earth. Trees bring us a special feeling, a closeness to the pattern of creation and its origin. As we plant these small trees and feel the earth on our hands, we become part of the land and of its care. We commence to understand the intricate web and the importance our land plays in our social, spiritual and economic well-being. This story should perhaps also be your story, where you live. The people of the Kiewa have a concern for all who live in and use this beautiful and valuable valley. They have a long way to go before they complete their task, but they already know they will be much richer for their labour. The Kiewa Catchment Farm Tree Group invites you to take part in this worthwhile challenge and leave the future generations with an even better place to live in. Your help is needed.